Good day and great health. My name is Dr. Jericho Sarka of Ohio Specific Chiropractic. I'm a pediatric, family wellness, and upper cervical specific chiropractor. Today on this video, we're going to talk about the connection between Meniere's disease and the upper cervical spine. Now, my disclaimer at the start of all these videos is to let everyone know that as a chiropractor, I do not medically treat any specific disease or condition such as Meniere's, but my main objective is to help improve the overall integrity and functionality of the upper cervical spine and its relationship to the brain stem. Now, to kind of delve deeper into that connection, we'll just do a simple crash course in anatomy and physiology. In the upper cervical spine, we focus on four main areas. We have the occipital bone, found on the base of our skull, the atlas bone, or the first cervical bone, the axis bone, or the second cervical bone, and then housed and protected in these three bones, we will find the brainstem area of our nerve system. Now, our nerve system in general is going to do four amazing things for us. It's going to control all the movements we make. It's going to sense everything we feel. It's going to regulate all our body organs, and it's going to relate us to the outside world. Now, one main job of our brainstem is to integrate the communications of all these different movements, sensations, regulations, and relations. It's going to integrate or modulate all these communications between the brain and the body. Now, within the brainstem, there's one area that we're going to focus on with its connection to Meniere's, and that is the vestibular nuclei. Within the vestibular nuclei, we're going to have a headquartered area of all these different nerve cells where all these different nerve fibers meet up from all these different areas of our body to help bring better communication and integration of our body. It's going to, for the most part, it's going to integrate our vision, our proprioception, and our vestibular senses between the brain and the body. Now, our main headquarter for our vision is going to be our eyes, and it's going to be controlled neurologically through our muscle, through the nerves that are going to control the muscles of the eye. The vestibular sense is going to be headquartered in our inner ear, and it's going to be neurologically controlled through the vestibular cochlear nerve. And our proprioception sense is going to be found throughout our body and our postural muscles. With the greatest concentration of these proprioceptors are going to be found in the upper cervical neck. Now, there's one other aspect of our brainstem, one other job of our brainstem, and that is to adapt to all the different stresses that are going to be constantly bombarding our system on a day-to-day basis. Those three stresses are physical, chemical, and emotional in nature. Now, when our body gets stressed, and especially our nerve system gets stressed, it's going to affect the sensitivity, perception, and behavior of the nerves involved. Now, if our brainstem can't adapt to the stress 100%, it's going to create a compensation. One specific compensation that we deal with as upper cervical chiropractors is a vertebral subluxation. A vertebral subluxation is going to be that physical presentation of that neurological disruption happening in the body. So in our schematic drawing here, I drew a simple version of a vertebral subluxation, and how when that atlas bone shifts over to the right, it's going to then disrupt the communication and the integration between the nerves involved, and then that's going to also then affect the communication and integration of the brain and the body. Now, when we talk about Meniere's disease, what are some of the symptoms that are associated with Meniere's disease? Often you'll have different symptoms associated with vertigo, dizziness, hearing loss. You can have ear ringing or tinnitus. You can also have a sense of fullness in the ear. Now, when we talk about vertigo, it could be a little bit of a widespread sort of symptom, because it can be affecting different aspects of the body. So you can have a sense of just a spinniness or a sense of being off balance. You can also just have a sense of being lightheadedness, have a sense of faintness, or called syncope. You can also have a sense of just constant nausea, or just have problems with your vision, sort of visual problems. Now, when we medically talk about Meniere's disease, it's often sort of just classified as an inner ear problem or an inner ear disorder. But if we actually look at the neurology behind what's happening with the inner ear, we can see that it can't just necessarily be a problem with the inner ear. That's because our vestibular cochlear nerve, found in our inner ear, is going to connect directly with our vestibular nuclei, which also directly connects with our eye muscles. It's going to then also directly connect with our postural muscles found in our upper cervical neck, our body, and our limbs. And then it's also going to be secondary connected to our cerebellum and our vagus nerve. So this is why we have to sometimes step back and just not necessarily focus on the symptoms, because if we just focus on the symptoms, we would think, for the most part, there's got to be some type of, if there's some type of ringing in the ear or dizziness, we must think there must be an inner ear problem. But if we look at the neurology, we can see that all these different aspects of our nerve system are interconnected. So when we have that vertebral subluxation that's irritating the brainstem, it's also going to be irritating the vestibular nuclei, which then can also be irritating all these other different all these different other neurological connections between the brainstem and all these different aspects of our body. So the vertebral subluxation of the upper cervical spine can be disrupting that communication route to the vestibular cochlear nerve, the eye muscles, the cerebellum, our postural muscles even down below, and even can be affecting our vagus nerve. That's why too often, when you have different symptoms of vertigo, that's why you can have all these different symptoms such as nausea, faintness, visual problems, increased heart rates, or trouble breathing, or syncope, or faintness. That's because of its connection to the vagus nerve and how it can affect heart rate, respiratory rate, and overall gastrointestinal function. So chiropractically, what we try to do is we try to locate the vertebral subluxation happening in the upper cervical spine, and our main goal is to try to correct that brainstem disruption to help improve just overall neurological communication between the brain above and the body below. Often when we help improve the integrity of the brainstem, we can see just an overall better communication route between all these other aspects of our body. Now, this was just a simple primer into the connection between Meniere's disease and the upper cervical spine. So if you have any other questions or concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on my website at ohiospecific.com. Thank you very much.